So last week we spoke about a few things that are about to cause monthly assessments to go way up, and those of course were mandatory reserves, mandatory repairs in our buildings. And today we're going to talk about that other category, that third category that has already driven the cost up of living in a condo and even in an HOA. And of course that topic is the insurance crisis. And Greg Waltz is here with Assured Partners, who has been a sponsor of the show for 15 years. So, Greg, welcome to the show. Really great to have you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Eric.
Now,
Thanks,
what can you say, Greg? I mean, things are tough. People are scared about being priced out of their homes because of the rising cost of insurance.
Yeah.
And tell us where things are at the moment. Can people still expect insurance rates to go up 30 to 60% every year? Because it seems like that's the way it's been going. Or, is it about to get worse, or is the worst in the rearview mirror?
So from what we've seen, the worst is in the rearview mirror.
Good.
Great.
I'll give you a quick snapshot. Last
Sure.
year, the average increase that we were seeing on commercial policies, condos, HOAs, was 40 to 60%. We saw some that were 100%, 200%
increases.
Yeah. What changed this year is we didn't have any major storms.
Right.
Right, yeah, and I was about to say...
And everyone left the state. All the
Yeah,
business.
a lot,
Yeah. Farmers left. We've had, even now State Farm is pulling out of California.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the fire claims in California. So,
But they never end, right?
right.
The fire claims,
But this year, I haven't done an increase larger than 20% or 30%
So
since
maybe
January.
things are
But if
getting
we have
better.
storms
Yeah,
season?
that's the question.
yeah.
We've always heard that the insurance crisis is brought about by two things. The first is lack of competition in the state.
Right.
So you're saying, where are we in terms of competition?
Good.
We've always heard we were down to like Citizens and nobody else.
That's what it was last year. But this
Right.
year, we've had several carriers come into the market, and underwriting guidelines are loosening. They aren't
Right.
strict anymore.
Right.
Capacity is up, which just means that insurance companies are willing to put up higher limits.
Okay.
But I've had flat renewals. I've had 4%, 3%
Yeah.
renewals.
I
and
had
that's
an
become
interesting
the norm.
situation just for my own home. I was at Citizens, and the rate was like 10 grand or something like that. And all of a sudden, I got a letter, from another company with a weird name. I forgot the name of it. That says, "Congratulations, now you're with us."
Right.
But the rate remained exactly the same.
Okay. Yeah.
There was absolutely no insurance increase whatsoever. So if I'm assuming a lot of people are going to get letters like that.
Yes. Yep. Especially if you're getting taken out of Citizens, if a Citizens takeout company,
Yeah.
and you'll get that premium months and months in advance, and it's usually within 20% of Citizens. A lot of times it's lower.
Okay.
But if it's higher, you can stay with Citizens.
If it's 20%,
20% more,
or
right.
higher.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of quality, though, does it matter much if you're with Citizens or this new carrier that you might not have heard of?
What matters is if it's admitted or non-admitted. If it's a Citizens takeout company, it's going to be an admitted carrier that's backed by the state. So if they go out of business, you have protection from the state that'll pay your claims. That's the most important factor.
So that's a good thing. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they say the grass is always greener on the other side, and here's what I mean by that. When it comes to the cost for repairs and reserves, condo owners say they're getting hit harder than the people that live in HOAs. But the cost of insurance, like we're talking about for single-family homes, skyrocketed, right? And HOA owners are saying, wait a minute, condo owners, you think you got it bad? You know how bad it is in my single-family home? So in terms of insurance, who do you think is getting the shorter end of the stick? Who do you really think is suffering more, condo owners or HOA owners?
I think condo owners, especially those in older buildings. The difference is when you own your house, your single-family home, you control your destiny, right?
Right.
When you live in a condo, you're at the mercy of who's in charge, who's passing the assessment, who's maintaining the building.
Right.
And if it hasn't been maintained for 30 years, you're going to get hit with a several $100,000 assessment potentially.
And if
So
there's one
learning
guy
that,
with
yes.
a mortgage,
Right.
you have to have the insurance.
Correct,
If
yeah,
if it's all paid, if
Yeah.
everyone's paid off, then you don't have to have that insurance.
Right. Well, for the personal policy, yes.
Right.
Yes.
I have an interesting story in my house. Maybe you can just give me an example. I bet you this. I'm asking this because this applies to, I'm sure, a lot of people out there. My roof on my home is really old. I mean, we're talking about, I think, 30 years now.
Wow.
But what do I do every year? We have a sponsor on the show, Best Roofing. Every single year, I have them come out. and I have them do an inspection on the roof, and anything that needs to be fixed is fixed at that time. So there's portions of the roof that are brand new, like I have in the back of the house, flat roof, totally fixed, brand new, fixed a couple of years ago. Last year, had another portion of the roof on the tilted portion of the roof, fixed, brand new. So even though I'm making all these repairs and doing all those things, does the insurance company really care? Or did they say, sorry, buddy, the roof is 30 years old. We don't care. We didn't even want to look at it. You're changing it, or we're dropping you.
Yeah, they're going to want full replacement.
Oh,
They're not giving you any credits for repairing your roof. Most insurance companies, 10 to 15 years is the most they'll give you in Florida, given our location and exposure to hurricanes. So it's either full replacement, or they'll drop you or raise your rate significantly.
I got to get a good attorney to fight that. I really do. Now,
I know one.
So can homeowners or condo associations be proactive, like we're talking about, in terms of repairs, and perhaps take steps to ensure that their premiums won't go up? What could they do, if anything, like maybe install hurricane protection, something like that? What can they do to say, I'm going to try to help ourselves here?
Right. So hurricane protection is a good thing, but the key with condo associations is it's all or nothing. Every single unit, every single door in that building has to be hurricane impact resistant.
Right.
All it takes is one unit owner to not do it, and it messes up for
I've been
everybody.
involved in cases like that where that one or two holdouts get sued because you're costing the building a tremendous amount of money in insurance savings. So that one holdout winds up getting a summons and complaint.
The other interesting thing is our door, I'm in a condo, it opens in, and the inspector said that's a no-no. They all should open out.
Right, because when the wind pushes it, it's going to push
so
the door
that's a problem right there.
Yep.
So we're sitting here hoping that, or you're telling us it sounds good that rates may go down. Certainly this year is not as bad as prior years in the past. But what about if we roll another 7? And what I mean by that is the state of Florida gets hit with another massive hurricane or 2. It's expected to be a bad year this coming hurricane season. What happens next year to rates?
Well, they always expect it to be a bad year. They always say that. But then all bets are off. I mean, if we get hit like we did with Ian, which is what catapulted us last year into those extremely high rates, then we're in trouble.
Right. So it's in effect, it's kind of hard to predict rates because a lot of it really depends on whether or not we're getting hit with a storm.
It changes month to month, week to week sometimes.
Really?
But isn't the insurance pool, there's a universal pool, isn't it? It's well stocked. There's a lot of money in it.
Well, the Citizens is very well funded because they have billions and billions of dollars.
Right.
But even Citizens is overexposed right now.
Oh, it's overexposed.
Which is why they're depopulating.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had someone raise a question, but I would say about this maybe close to a year on the show, that the fund is the state is actually sitting on a tremendous fund of money.
Yeah.
Something like $21 billion, and if they would release that money to insurance companies to make everybody's premiums go down a little bit, that would help. But you're saying, wait a minute, time out. That money is set aside for kind of citizens to pay claims should a tremendous storm hit.
Yeah, I mean, we had a seminar with Citizens, and they said that if we had a Category 5 storm, they don't have enough money in the bank to pay for all their claims.
I mean, it's $60 billion at least.
If all of their policyholders had a total loss, they don't have enough money to fulfill their obligations.
That's crazy.
So, which is why Citizens is accessible as well.
Yeah.
If there's a storm, Citizens can assess every policyholder.
Not to jinx us also, these storms that we've had to have over the last 3-4 years, a lot of them hit very non-populated areas, like Michael, for example, right? In the kind of like the Panhandle,
Mexico Beach.
Yeah, Mexico, right? Mexico City Beach, right?
City Beach.
No disrespect to that area whatsoever, but it was a very, very populated center. I mean, if a 5 is a big difference in terms of payouts. If a 5 hits that area as opposed to the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach area,
Palm Beach.
we're talking about hundreds of tens of billions of dollars difference in terms of claims.
It'd be chaos. Yeah, if we had a Category 5 storm go through downtown Miami, I mean, we'd be in trouble.
We almost did with Andrew.
Yeah.
But then it went south. You just said something interesting about Citizens, though, being accessible.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So that means even if you don't have any damage in your particular
You're
house
gonna
or
be
building,
assessed?
you can be assessed. They have the ability to
Assessment, sure.
assess every policyholder in order to pay claims. You've all agreed to it when you signed your policy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not the same with a private insurer.
No.
Yeah, just to
Wow.
remind everybody how it works in terms of flood damage is a little different. There's a national policy
Correct.
for flood, so all the 50 states are sharing the national flood
that
insurance
nice?
premium.
Yep.
Doesn't work that way
No.
with hurricanes.
No.
So Florida, it's basically screw you. You
You're
pay
on
for
your
your own
own.
insurance claims.
Right.
Unreal. And I'm sure if you tried to have some legislation which would create a national fund for these types of disasters, including not just hurricanes, tornadoes,
Right.
etc., be a lot of states that simply wouldn't go for it because
course.
they don't suffer.
They don't have the
Nothing.
exposure.
Right.
But there's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do.
The
Yes.
whole East Coast, part of the West Coast.
Yes.
And you've got tornadoes in the middle of the
It would be
country.
great if that would happen. I don't know if there's any legislators from Florida in the House or the Senate
That
that
are-
have even tried to float a bill in that regard.
Rick
but
Scott.
if they're listening, why not?
Matt
Give it a
Gaetz.
shot.
Matt
What's
Gaetz,
the
get
worst
on
that
it.
could happen? It gets turned down. But I want to switch hats for a second and talk about a problem that arises so often on this show. Happens all the time. Let's say there's a leak in someone's unit. It causes damage to somebody else's unit. And that person that suffered all the damage, they now have no insurance. And they're looking for the bad guy to repair their unit, but that guy doesn't have insurance either. So nobody has insurance. So even though it's not your fault, you suffered a tremendous amount of damage and there's really nobody to turn to pay for all the repairs that's now destroyed your unit. How do condo dwellers avoid that situation?
You got to buy insurance.
From him.
Right. What type of policy? What are we talking about? Walk us through that.
If you're a condo owner, you need to buy an HO6 policy. So you call your agent and you tell them you need an HO6 and they'll know exactly what you need.
Okay,
It's a-
generally what does it cover?
So it covers the dwelling, cabinets, floor coverings, wall coverings, ceiling coverings, your contents.
Right.
But it also covers liability if somebody gets
So
injured.
if you're this happened to my sister.
Mm-hmm.
She woke up one morning, takes a step down onto the floor, and she's standing in water.
No.
Her water heater broke
Yep.
overnight, and who the hell knew? And the people downstairs were like not banging on her door, and she just she didn't know. So would an HO6 policy, like you said, cover you for liability as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you got sued for your water heater leaking, you just call up your insurance company. Hey, take care of this.
Exactly, yeah.
So it covers you both ways. If
Both
you suffer
ways.
damage and or if you get sued.
Yeah, if you get sued. And more importantly, if you have people over your house, you're having a party, some little kid falls down, breaks his leg, and the family sues you, you have coverage there as well.
Okay.
Suppose you just wring the little kid's neck. Does it cover you for that? No. No.
That's
So-
a criminal thing.
No, so it sounds like it's kind of a no-brainer because it covers you both ways. If
Yeah.
you cause damage to somebody or if damage is caused to you, it covers the damage in your unit. It covers the kitchen cabinets. It covers everything that could possibly go wrong in your unit.
And it covers the upgrades as well. If
That's
you
so
put
interesting.
in, top of the line appliances, cabinets, your policy is going to cover all that.
It's kind of crazy why you wouldn't buy it. There's really no reason not to. From what I understand, it's not really an unaffordable policy. It's kind of a
Well, it
inexpensive
depends on the
type of policy.
characteristics and the age of the building and,
Right,
and all
right.
of those things, mitigation reports.
Gotcha.
But a lot of snowbirds I've found that, come down for a couple months, they don't want to spend any extra money.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm involved in a case right now exactly like that. There's a lot of case law that says if you're a snowbird, right? Just because you turn around and you go back up north and your back is now facing Florida, that does not mean you don't have a continuing obligation to maintain your unit.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So you know what happens to a lot of snowbirds? They don't turn off the water and things of that nature,
yeah.
right? And all of a sudden a pipe breaks or the refrigerator
Right.
starts to leak or the water heater starts to leak. It destroys units underneath them, right? Because they failed to turn off the water before they went back up north. They should definitely have an HO6 policy so that if they get sued, there's coverage for them. I mean, the way I see it as an attorney, you better have an HO6 policy if you're someone that's going back east for the summer. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely. And we've had cases of people leave their AC off, they come back and the unit's just full of black mold.
Oof.
I mean,
Wow.
it can get ugly. And a good idea is to have somebody come and check in on your unit
Yeah.
if you're not going to be
Of
there.
course,
Yeah.
exactly right. And there's case law that says that. So tell us what Assured Partners actually does.
So my office in Deerfield Beach, we only do the commercial policies, the master policies for condos and HOAs.
Right.
We do have other offices that do personal insurance, but we insure over 1,000 associations
Really?
in Florida, and that's all we do. Is I go to board meetings almost every day, every night.
Right.
Sometimes you get beat up, but it's been a little bit better.
Well, you're lucky. It's only sometimes.
When you deliver flat increases and flat renewals, and we've had decreases this year. I mean,
Really?
it's really starting to get better. It's starting
That's
to
great.
stabilize. So
Look, so those listening out there, if all you heard is bad news, you're hearing from Greg that he may be able to make it a little better, may be able to make it a little easier for some associations. So the important question, how does everybody get in touch with Assured Partners?
well, you can call me 954-640-6225, extension 105, and my email is gregory.waltz@assuredpartners.com.
All right, we got that up there, Mr.
Yep.
Producer.
We sure do, and I put a QR code as well. So if you
my
scan
God.
that with your
Fantastic.
phone-
Yeah.
Point your camera
Yeah.
at the screen.
Scan
That
it.
is great. So thank
it
you
up
so
again.
much for coming.